episode of Surviving the Survivor, we bring you the best guests in all of true crime. Don't forget to subscribe and smash that like button. Here's your host, Emmy Award-winning broadcaster, Joel Waldman.
What's up, STS Nation? Welcome to Surviving the Survivor. It is the show that brings you the very best guests in all of true crime. And when you've got the biggest trial going on in all the world, we bring you live afternoon updates, and that is what we're doing here with Sean Diddy Combs versus the United States government. It is week 4, day 16 of testimony in this riveting trial. This morning, a forensic video expert testified that now infamous 2016 Intercontinental Hotel surveillance footage where you see Sean Diddy Combs beating up Cassie Ventura, that in fact that video was not altered and is a reliable depiction of events. The jury was also shown explicit videos. Imagine being a jury here. And they were enhanced from a laptop that Cassie Ventura turned over to prosecutors. These are sexually explicit videos that the jurors are now going to be looking at. Project Band shirt says it best. Today is not a good day for itty bitty Diddy. We are headed into the highly anticipated testimony as well of yet another accuser, Jane Doe. They're really just calling her Jane, no Doe there. She's going to testify under this pseudonym and very strict court protections. Before the jury entered, and this was before 9 a.m. this morning, Judge Arun, Subramanian rules that exhibits that will be used during Jane's testimony will not be shown on public video feeds, therefore protecting her identity. These exhibits include text message threads expected to be shown during her testimony, which is expected to likely start this afternoon. Right now, or just prior to lunch, you had the woman, if you recall, Cassie Ventura talking about this during her testimony. At one point, Sean Diddy Combs, this sick human being that he is, was dangling a woman over a 17th floor balcony. Well, she took the stand before lunch today. We're going to get to that in a few moments ago. Attorneys here did discuss this testimony early this morning. The woman's name is Brianna Bongolin. She is the one who was dangled by Sean Diddy Combs. She is brought in to formally invoke the Fifth Amendment prior to testifying under immunity, as she was doing just before lunch, and the judge signing the immunity order for Brianna Bongolin, same sort of immunity deal as was signed by prior witnesses George Kaplan, the one-time assistant to Sean Diddy Combs, and Eddie Garcia, who was on the stand yesterday and talked about how Sean Diddy Combs bribed him with $100,000 offer. He actually brought the cash to suppress this video from the hotel that is now out there for the world to see. Thank you to Catherine for appreciating the updates. So we start testimony this morning. A guy named Frank Piazza. He is a forensic audio and video expert. He hops on the stand and he is examined by Assistant United States Attorney Madison Smizer, very adept at her job. He, of course, goes through some of the housekeeping, and he informs everybody that he is paid $295 an hour for his work. Typically, he says he works more with the defense than prosecution, but in this case, of course, working for the United States government. And he says that he reviewed cell phone video, surveillance footage, which is the Cassie Ventura hallway video, and then sex videos. Imagine being hired at $295 an hour. You have to sit there and watch these videos and then bring your knowledge into court. He says he has really no broader knowledge of the case, that he hasn't really followed it. He was just asked to examine the video, the text, and the videos, the sex videos. So He testifies about review of all of this stuff. He does confirm that he was also asked about looking at these sexually explicit videos, which he says that he did. The prosecution now puts up some digital forensic evidence. They've been putting up text messages. Shout out to Kirsten in Sweden. The prosecution shows a text message from September 2015 between Sean Combs and his security guard, who we've heard of multiple times now, known as D-Rock. D-Rock was the guy who went with Sean Diddy Combs to try to attack West Coast rapper Suge Knight in Los Angeles, but by the time they got to Mel's drive-in diner, Suge Knight was gone. So this is the same guy. D-Rock also apparently had a fairly close relationship with Cassie Ventura. At times, I wouldn't say protecting her, but speaking to her and trying to give her words of encouragement as she was beaten by Sean Combs. He tells D-Rock in this text message, and I quote here, "Stay on top of Cassie. Stay on top of Cassie." He wanted the security guys on top of it all, but especially watching Cassie Ventura. Back to this witness, Mr. Piazza. He testifies that the Intercontinental Hotel surveillance footage, which is from March 5th, 2016, again, he says it was not manually altered, and he slows up the video to real time because the conversion of this video at some point sped it up slightly. So he shows a slowed up, more, I guess, accurate version. And he acknowledges at this point that timestamps are not always accurate on these surveillance videos. The jury gets a chance to view the video, and this now for them as at least the 8th time in the trial. And I remember asking experts prior to the beginning of this trial, well, how many times are we going to see this Cassie Ventura video? And they said, if you're the government, you're going to want to show it as many times as humanly possible. So this is now apparently the 8th time that it was shown. Pink Panther says the details coming out of this trial is only what we know. I can't imagine what we don't know. It is so disturbing. That's a great point. This is only stuff that is being brought into the public record and only for these specific witnesses. But we do know about all these other civil lawsuits, some brought by a minor, some half of them almost being brought by men, claiming that Sean Diddy Combs was doing this to men as well. So, he didn't seem to have much inhibition in the way of being a vile human being. So, witness Piazza presents the video compilation, and he tracks the movement and all of that during the hotel incident. Again, just to show his expertise, he uses black screens between different clips, and he does that to indicate when the camera angle is going to change. So they're really going through this methodically. Again, a black screen would come out, and he would say, okay, now the camera angle is going to change, and then they would play it out. He narrates the movement of Sean Combs, Cassie Ventura, and security officer Israel Flores, who I believe already took the stand. The witness confirms that the video compilation that they are looking at is based on all available footage. So all the footage that was possibly there to use was used. Now, is there footage that they couldn't locate? It remains unclear, but they used everything that they had, especially here during this demonstration in court. Again, Piazza, the witness, says no signs of tampering, and he ultimately deems the compilation a reliable depiction of hotel surveillance. So in short order, Diddy's screwed, because now you've got a digital forensic video surveillance expert who's saying, yeah, the video you're looking at is accurate and it's real, and that video is horrendous. So not a good day for Sean Diddy Combs to have that expert verify that information. The witness testifies that he enhanced 10 sex videos. Now, per that last comment, we only know what we know. I mean, I wonder how many sex videos Sean Diddy Combs must have. I don't even know that he could fit them physically, if they were in physical form, into those mansions of his that were huge. But the witness testifies again that he enhanced 10 sex videos from a laptop that Cassie Ventura had turned over to the government. The videos are from 2012 and 2014. And guess what? They are recovered under a user profile, none other than Frank Black. Frank Black. That is the alias that Sean Combs would use when checking in to hotels and other places to remain anonymous. So the same user profile is the name that Sean Diddy Combs was using to check into hotels. He says he also enhanced audio on another sex video. And at that point, the direct exam by the government of this witness ends and the court takes a brief break. Now, the witness comes back after the short break and is still on the stand to now be cross-examined by defense attorney Tenny Garagos, who is once again Mark Garagos' daughter, a very adept attorney in her own right. She begins the cross. He explains, the witness does, that he received the hotel surveillance footage from prosecutors, and he does not know where the prosecution obtained the original footage. This is sort of a chain of custody issue. The defense here, I mean, this is, all they have. It's weak, but it's all they have. And they're basically saying, well, you got this from the government. So how do we know the government didn't get this from someone who may have manipulated it some other way? They're just trying to muddy the waters. I don't think that's going to work with this jury. The witness explains that motion activated cameras do not update timestamps unless detecting distinct movement. So the timestamps would not be updated unless there was a very distinct movement in the frame. Frank Black was a singer for the Pixies. Who knew? Now you know. Tenny Garagos highlights jumping timestamps, suggesting possible video cuts. Of course, she's going to do that. She's saying, well, the timestamp jumps around. How do we know the video wasn't cut or edited? This guy just said that the timestamps are only going to change with significant and distinct movement. But of course, again, her job is to confuse the jury and make them wonder, hey, is this really all the video? The witness clarifies that the camera system behavior explains those timestamp gaps, meaning, again, that it will only be triggered by significant movement, and it's happening. The timestamp jumps are happening because of the way the system is set up. The witness explains that different cameras were not linked to the same internal clock, so it would just be this camera. And then he says he synchronized footage by tracking overlapping events. With about 5 minutes left to go, they just briefly go through some other aspects of the video, and then Tenny Garagos concludes her cross-examination of this digital forensic witness, and he hops off the stand where there's a quick break. The next witness, a woman named Brianna Bongolin, Bryana, Brianna Bongolin, Bongolan. I did start a little early today. My apologies. I have a meeting at 1 and got my daughter's graduation dinner tonight. So I'm going to tell you guys about that. The next 2 days will be a little hectic here. So the direct exam of Brianna Bongolin, the woman who was dangled over the balcony by Sean Diddy Combs, the direct exam begins. Again, it is Madison Smizer for the government, and she's again testifying under this immunity order. She is a fashion designer, also a friend of Cassie Ventura, who now goes, by the way, by Cassie Fine, because she is married to her husband, Alex Fine, who some people would say, I guess, is fine because he's a good-looking dude. Brianna Bongolin She says on the stand that she filed suit against Sean Combs back in November. She says that Sean Combs threatened to kill her and dangled her from the 17th floor balcony. So yet another person, thank you, Pink Panther, yet another person who is coming forward and saying that Sean Diddy Combs threatened to dangle her off the 17th floor balcony. I mean, there have been so many people, it would be almost impossible to believe that there's not a body or two out there at the hands of Sean Diddy Combs, but obviously he is not being charged for that. Carm will be home tomorrow. This is true. Carm is arriving about 6:30 in the morning tomorrow, East Coast time. Again, she's testing under an immunity order. She invoked her Fifth Amendment right. She gets into the balcony incident more specifically on the stand. She says she has night terrors, which is completely understandable as a result of being dangled over a 17th-story balcony. And then Sean Combs brings her back over the other side of the balcony onto the balcony, and she says throws her onto balcony furniture. What a wonderful human being. Afterward, again, she says she had these night terrors and would sometimes be screaming in her sleep. Cassie Ventura herself referenced the balcony incident without naming Brianna. She never named her, but she talked about this in her 2023 civil lawsuit against Sean Diddy Combs. And she testified about it last month as well in this trial. The 2023 lawsuit for Cassie Ventura resulted in a $20 million payout within 24 hours after asking for $30 million. And that happened. That was all divulged during the trial as well. The knife throwing incident, as if the balcony was not enough, there's also a knife throwing incident with Brianna Bongolan. She testified that Sean Diddy Combs threw a knife. This was actually directed at Cassie Ventura, but she was there to witness it, and it all happened during a violent outburst. What a wonderful guy. It took place at Cassie Ventura's Los Angeles apartment. It was the middle of the night. She couldn't recall the year or the specificity of it, but says that Sean Combs throws or whips this knife at Cassie Ventura, missing her. Cassie Ventura picks up the knife, and good for her, throws it back at Sean Diddy Combs. Both wingings of the knife resulted in misses, so ultimately nobody was hurt, but you just get the idea of how dysfunctional and violent and dangerous and horrible this relationship really was between Sean Diddy Combs and Cassie Ventura. Interesting, because Brianna Bongolan testifies now on the stand that Sean Diddy Combs himself called himself El Diablo, but he used the American word. He said he was the devil. He was the devil. This was during one encounter. He went on to say, "I am the devil and I can kill you." She said she was terrified and also testified that Sean Combs had been using cocaine when he said this to her. What an absolute mess of a human being this Sean Diddy Combs is, and whatever he's going to get, he deserves. If this guy walks free, it'll be a dangerous, dangerous person out on the streets. Judge Arun Subramanian, after hearing about the knife throwing and this whole incident where Sean Diddy Combs approaches Brianna and then tells her that he is the devil and that he can kill her, the judge has enough, and he says it's time for lunch. I'm not sure how you eat, and the jury has been instructed to return in about 15 minutes from now. To be safe, it'll probably be closer to a quarter after the hour, but they are on a lunch break right now. They are expected to hear, the jurors are expected to hear more testimony from Brianna Bongolan, the woman who Diddy dangled over the balcony. And then we also got a little bit of a prelude to who is coming up very soon, and that would be Jane Doe, who's just going by Jane. She is the alleged third sex assault victim. Now, this woman, Brianna, is not considered a sex assault victim, but obviously being dangled over a balcony, she is a victim of significant proportions. Jane Doe is described by prosecutors simply as a single mom who met Sean Combs in 2020. And this is interesting because this is much later, much later. This is in 2020, whereas you'll recall Cassie Ventura, I believe, met Sean Combs all the way back in 2006, I want to say. So this is almost 14 years later, and this is another one. And guess what? Sean Combs introduces Jane to freak-offs. He wanted to show her his collection of baby oil and Astroglide, I guess. So she is also introduced to freak-offs by Sean Diddy Combs. The government alleges that Sean Combs subjected Jane to violence, abuse, and forced sex with male escorts during these events, all without condoms being used. And this sounds eerily familiar to the other SA victims. And this you're hearing is a woman with a child at the time of all this. And someone's telling me I look depressed. Clear your mind, brother. Yeah, this stuff is it's a little heavy, this stuff. The judge rules that exhibits, this was earlier on today, but just to clarify, this was before testimony today. Judge Arun Subramanian ruled that exhibits from Jane's testimony would not be shown on public video feeds. There are now 2 overflow rooms and the courtroom on the 26th floor. By the way, that woman was thrown out yesterday. One of the things she said, besides calling people in the courtroom MFers, was that Diddy is quote unquote innocent. So there are people supporting this monster, which is almost difficult to comprehend, but people come in all shapes and sizes. And I saw this woman every day I was there, and she is definitely, I was there, but she's not all there, if you get what I mean. Again, so these exhibits will not appear on public feeds to protect her identity. It is a pseudonym, Jane. She granted the request. The judge, Arun Subramanian, granted the request from prosecutor Maureen Comey, who is incidentally former FBI Director Jim Comey's daughter, and she's doing a fantastic job. She is a government prosecutor. It will include significant text messages. Her testimony. It will include significant text message threads that those will be shown to the jury. So, just to recap some things that happened some weeks ago, Cassie Ventura, she testified for nearly 20 hours over 4 days. She alleged threats, drug use, violence, and rape during her relationship with Sean Diddy Combs. She described the freak-offs, the drug-fueled sex performances organized by Combs. Legal experts say that they view Cassie Ventura's testimony as really foundational to the government's case. And then the other victim so far, other than Jane, who we're going to hear from, has been an ex-employee named Mia. She testified for 1 day less, over 3 days, whereas Cassie was 4 days. So Jane could be up there for a few days for sure. And she also testified to alleged multiple incidents of physical, emotional, and sexual abuse by Sean Combs, and explained why she sent loving messages to Sean Combs after the fact, saying that she was still under his psychological control, that essentially she was brainwashed. So under cross-exam, Mia did acknowledge she did not initially disclose SA allegations to investigators or federal prosecutors. But again, these women are understandably scarred and marked by the monster that is Sean Diddy Combs. So that was the morning. That is the wrap. Let me take a few minutes to see if there are any comments here. And not saying too much. You guys have a comment or two, I'll stick around for a few minutes. By the way, let me just fill you in. So today, the COE's mother is flying in, and we've got a graduation dinner, so no official show tonight. And then sort of the same deal tomorrow. I'm going to be doing a Diddy update in the afternoon, but then we have the actual graduation for my 5th grader, V to V. So gotta do that, obviously. And we'll be back Friday. Phil, this Friday, is at his son's 40th birthday party in California. So Phil won't be there, but I think Scott will be here. And we'll get a show to you on Friday. And then hopefully things smooth out next week. And we will be back in all our glory next week. And we will bring you and continue to bring you the best content in all of true crime. Vesper Martini wouldn't know what to do without her. She helps us behind the scenes. K9 Catherine, how sweet. I have a comment. Love you back. Pink Panther, Carm, we miss you. This is not the witness who has been missing. That was supposed to be another person, and that witness is not going to testify. So Jane is not the missing witness. No Phil, so sad. I know it's been crazy with those guys, but everyone's got busy lives, and I don't pay them. So they're like, hey, I got something to do. But they'll be back next week, and we are always working on bringing you new things. Becky Ireland says, congrats to my daughter. Thank you. Vesper says, thanks. My pleasure. I'm excited that Carm's going to be back. We'll get her to work next week, and Carm and I are going to start work on the book about my dad that's been sidelined a little bit because my mom hasn't been around, and going to need her help to write that. So Scott has been busy on Fox. Yes, he has. Scott Duffy, a man who knows a lot about law enforcement. Now, this case, have you guys heard about this case out of Washington State, which is tough for me to even talk about, but another sicko in this country went out and on a visitation murders his 3 daughters, and this guy is on the run. I just reached out to my friend Jim Fuda. This is all happening in Washington State. I reached out to my friend Jim Fuda, who is a former Seattle hostage negotiator. I was actually trying to get him. I wanted to do something short on this today, but maybe like a 45-minute show. He, unfortunately, is in Washington, D.C., taking meetings or having meetings. He works on Crime Stoppers initiatives and things of this nature. So he's not available today. If I can find someone, I might try to squeeze in a show. It's going to be very tight and unlikely, to be honest. But if I can, maybe I will. That is a sick story. And quite frankly, I hope they find this guy not alive, because if he is, and by the way, he has a lot of military training, it's going to be ugly when they try to bring him in. But the hostage negotiator, Jim Fuda, believes that he is probably, this guy out in Washington State has probably unalived himself. So Lady B, I've watched every one of your videos. Great reporting. STS, the place to be. You know, they're going crazy in the other world over there, the Karen Reed world. I just cannot wait for that to end. It's pretty funny, actually. I decided to, I guess the word would be troll a few of those people on Twitter because they were irritating me. And I forgot how much fun that whole little ecosystem is, the Karen Reed ecosystem. But that trial, in my opinion, cannot end soon enough. Apparently a difficult day for the defense today. So there you go. 12:59. I've got a meeting at 1. Keep an eye out on Twitter or X at Podcast STS. On Twitter or X at Podcast STS. And follow me on Instagram, Surviving the Survivor. I post showtimes and updates on both. And if I can squeeze in the show about this father of 3 who allegedly murdered all 3, imagine that, killed all 3 daughters, I'm sure to spite the mother. And he's on the run, and there is a big manhunt going on for him out west. And selfishly, I hope they find him no longer with us, just laying in the weeds. All right, everybody. I'll see you when I can. Definitely tomorrow for a lunch update, and then we're back Friday. Apologies, but family first always, and I hope you guys are having a great day. Love you, America, and justice for the victims, all the victims of Sean Diddy Combs. And that list might be too long to even read in a full day. Who knows? But more details will undoubtedly emerge. See you, everybody. Have a great day.